Disney's Lady and the Tramp. This is a story of a lovely lady and a rascally tramp whose hearts are bound by loyalty and love.
It was Christmas Eve. At the home of Jim Deere and Darling, many brightly wrapped presents sat under the tree. But one was particularly cheery. Jim Deere picked it out first and handed it to his bride, saying, "It's for you, darling." And as Darling lifted the lid off the box, out jumped a cuddly Cocker Spaniel puppy. "Oh, how sweet," cried Darling. "What a perfectly beautiful little lady." And so Lady became the puppy's name.
When Lady was 6 months old, she received her very own collar with a special tag engraved with her name. Now she knew she really belonged. Proudly, Lady showed it off to her neighbors, a Scottish terrier named Jock and a bloodhound named Trusty. "Why, Miss Lady," exclaimed Trusty, "you have a collar." "Aye," Jock added, "she's a full-grown lady."
One day, Lady sadly said that Jim Deere had been rushed past her without patting her head. Darling hadn't taken her for a walk in ages, and they had been talking about a special event. Jock and Trusty smiled. Lady's humans were having a baby. A carefree mutt named Tramp, who lived on the streets, was wandering by and overheard.
"Just a cute little bundle of trouble," Tramp quipped as he swaggered over. "Remember those nice juicy cuts of beef? Forget 'em. And that nice warm bed by the fire? A leaky doghouse." "Do not listen, lassie," said Jock. Okay, said Tramp, "but remember, Pigeon, when a baby moves in, the dog moves out."
One day soon after, the baby arrived, and when Lady got a glimpse of him, she had to admit this thing called a baby was very cute. There was no sense in listening to that awful Tramp.
For a while, things were wonderful, but one day Aunt Sarah came to stay at the house while Jim Deere and Darling went on a trip. Aunt Sarah kept Lady away from the baby, and she had 2 naughty Siamese cats. When the cats pulled the fishbowl off the table, Aunt Sarah blamed Lady, and off they marched to the pet store to fit Lady with a muzzle.
Lady wasn't sure what a muzzle was, but when the clerk strapped one on her, she suddenly understood. It was a terrible thing. Lady twisted and turned, struggling wildly, and then got loose and ran off down the street. Suddenly, a pack of dogs began chasing Lady. Tramp happened to be passing by and saw that Lady was in trouble. He bared his teeth and growled, chasing the dogs away.
"You poor kid," Tramp said, looking at Lady's muzzle. "We've got to get this off, and I know the very place. Come on." Tramp took Lady to the zoo to see a beaver whose sharp teeth easily bit through the muzzle strap. "It's off," cried Lady happily. "It's supper time," Tramp announced as he and Lady trotted away from the zoo. "When you're footloose and collar free, well, you take nothing but the best." Then Tramp headed for Tony's, the very place for a special occasion.
Tony was delighted to see Tramp and his new lady friend. "Tonight they get the best in the house. Spaghetti especiale, heavy on the meatball." Tony serenaded the happy couple.
The 2 dogs shared a delicious spaghetti dinner by candlelight. As they ate, Tramp nibbled one end of a noodle and Lady nibbled the other end of the same noodle. They nibbled and nibbled that noodle until
they kissed! Nose to nose, staring deeply into each other's eyes, Lady and Tramp fell head over paws in love. After their romantic dinner, the 2 of the dogs walked to the top of a hill. Above them, they saw the twinkling stars in the sky. In all this beauty, Lady forgot about Aunt Sarah and her cats. She fell happily and in love.
The next morning, however, Lady realized she should be home, and Tramp agreed to take her back. First, Tramp decided to sneak into a hen house and chase chickens. Lady hated every minute of it, especially when the farmer began to chase them. Lady was caught and taken to the pound. Lady was ashamed and afraid. The other dogs told her she'd be released soon, for she had a collar. Sure enough, a guard came for Lady. "You're too nice a girl to be in this place," he said, handing Lady to Aunt Sarah.
Lady was happy to be home again, but it didn't last long. Aunt Sarah chained her to the doghouse. Lady was so lost in unhappy thoughts that she didn't see a huge rat climb into the backyard. But when it ran in front of her, she took off after him, barking and growling, only to be stopped short by her chain. She watched the rat climb up the side of the house and through the baby's window. Lady barked with her whole heart.
Luckily, Tramp heard Lady barking. He raced into the yard and over to Lady. "What's wrong, Pidge?" he asked. "A rat," cried Lady, "upstairs in the baby's room." Tramp raced up the back stairs and into the baby's room and attacked the rat. He knew it was up to him to protect the baby.
Lady broke loose and ran into the baby's room too, in time to see the rat escape from Tramp and climb onto the baby's crib. But Tramp flew at the rat, saving the baby from harm.
However, Aunt Sarah did not see the dead rat. She only saw the two dogs and an overturned crib. You vicious brutes, she screamed at Lady and Tramp. Back, get back. Aunt Sarah called the dog catcher to take Tramp away for attacking the baby.
Just then, Jim Dear and Darling came home and Lady led them up to the baby's room to show them the dead rat. All at once, everyone understood. Tramp hadn't been trying to hurt the baby, he had saved it. Was there time to stop the dog catcher's wagon before Tramp ended up at the pound?
Outside, Trusty and Jock heard Tramp saving the baby and decided to go after the dog catcher's wagon. We'll track him down, yelled Trusty as they ran. And then, asked Jock, we'll hold him at bay. The brave Trusty followed Tramp's scent and chased down the wagon, but his barking scared the dog catcher's horses. They reared up and tipped the wagon over, pinning Trusty under a wheel. Jock began to howl. Would he ever talk to old Trusty again?
As it turned out, Jock had nothing to worry about. In fact, good old Trusty hobbled out to go visiting with Jock the very next Christmas. And the first place they had visited was the home of their dear friends, Lady and Tramp. That's right, Tramp had finally traded in his wandering ways for a collar and a home with his lady. And now they had puppies, Scooter, Fluffy, Ruffy, and Little Scamp, who looked just like his dad. What a happy home and family.
The end.